Before it said full house, and we taking their business again. Full house.
You just. I don't know. Is it?
The guy from Ace came back.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew and Mike, probably the ordinances for the second and third readings for some things. It's just more normal, maybe.
Daryl's here.
Yeah, he is. Daryl's here for the airport.
You can't accept this. Audit because it's gonna have fine. You gotta take it off.
Yeah, we'll do it. All right, I got 7 o'clock, so I will call meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you take roll, please?
Councilman Madsen?
Here.
Councilman Montoya?
Here.
Councilman Fritz?
Here.
Councilman Race?
Here.
Mayor Graves?
Here. Okay, you have an agenda before you. On the agenda, under C, I would like to change action items 1 and 3. I'd like to do action item 3 first, and then action item 1 is third, because the outcome of action item currently 3 dictates how we're going to handle 1. So let's just swap those two, please. We'll deal with that one first. And then under new business, we'll just strike item number 1 because we don't have a final draft, correct? A final? Yeah, we just have a draft. We don't have a final. So would that be correct to do that?
No.
For now?
Or can we approve with noted changes?
When were they gonna get you a final? Did they tell you?
She just had,
We didn't have any changes really.
just adding the footnote was it.
Oh, yeah.
But
So could we approve with,
You wouldn't approve it,
We
you always
accept it.
accept it.
yeah, accept it with
And then
no changes, or?
then she'll email an updated one that doesn't have the watermark of draft over it, and then we can have you sign it. Be done with it.
Let's do that. Okay, it's done. All right. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Nope, sorry.
Okay, well,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and the changes made. Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. So we will jump right into appointments, and we'll start with Jarvis Wyndham. It's noted as Board of Adjustments or Planning and Zoning Commission. Did you want to speak to that as the either or opportunity, or?
Sure. Planner Clark and I have met and discussed this position, and we feel that Jarvis is a good fit on Board of Adjustments. And so that is Planner Clark and our recommendation.
Okay. Okay. Is Jarvis here? He is not here, it don't look like.
I think when he first came up, it was to go to the Board of Adjustments,
Yes, our
First
minutes
time.
reflect he was appointed to the Board of Adjustments.
and we're shorthanded on the Board of Adjustments. It's quite a bit, don't you?
All right, well, then I would entertain a motion to appoint Jarvis Wyndham to Board of Adjustments.
appoint.
You make the appointment, we just acknowledge it.
All right, well, given that point, I would recommend to appoint Jarvis Wyndham to the Board of Adjustments with the approval of the council.
I move we accept your nomination.
Second.
It's been moved and nominated. Any further discussion? Or moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moving on to number 2, we have Clinton Butler, also for the Board of Adjustments, and he's here if you have any questions of him. But I would make the recommendation to appoint Clinton Butler to the Board of Adjustments.
Make a motion to approve Clinton Butler to the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions of Mr. Butler? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then the reason for the moving Elizabeth Fisk to number 3 is she will be a permanent member instead of an alternate, if confirmed on planning and zoning. So I would make the recommendation to appoint Elizabeth Fisk to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Is she here? Is she here?
Yes.
Stand and be recognized.
Yes, she is standing. Picking her up in the corner.
The wallflower back there.
I move to accept the mayor's appointment.
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions for Elizabeth, since she is here? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That will also carry.
It's interesting, she listed her address with her lot number. Good. Subtle nuance for planning and zoning.
Attention to detail, maybe.
Exactly.
We are now to the consent agenda, and for the purpose of conversation, I would entertain a motion to accept and place to record the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Is there further discussion?
Andy, under the miscellaneous revenue. See, that's as far as total received to date. Then on miscellaneous. Miscellaneous total received.
Okay,
See, there's 134,998. I can't remember what that was.
so miscellaneous received.
The cash summary.
Hey, Candy, is our YouTube feed working? I don't see the light up there like normal.
I don't know.
Does it show like it's working right
On my end, it looks like it's working.
I just,
Elizabeth is checking.
it usually has a light. I mean, I know we're live with audio according to the speakers, but I just noticed there's like no light up there. Usually I think there is.
Shuffle your papers.
It's a delay, so
Yeah,
that
it's a delay.
in case we cuss.
Someone can audit us. I swore there used to be a light up there. Maybe not, but I just.
It's working.
That's just a delay.
Okay, so total received today for miscellaneous revenues, your question?
Yeah, and then we have a variance of 122,898. Looking back over under miscellaneous revenue, it shows miscellaneous materials and supplies.
Uh-huh.
That's where I assume that comes from.
Yes, and so what I can tell you, we are way over budget on this one because of our public auction we held. For like when we sold the sweeper and that sort of thing, that was like a $90,000 increase. So if it wasn't for it, so if we sold an auction item that was for sanitation, then that revenue would went into sanitation. But this revenue, like the street sweeper, there we do not have a fund for streets, and so it goes into miscellaneous revenue.
Okay.
So how, on that same note, how is it that this report doesn't match this report?
So on the receipt this month,
Well, no, your total, current year-to-date total here is 159,000, and on this sheet, it's only 135. Maybe there's maybe the interest earnings are being reported somewhere else.
Interest.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is, Candy.
Interest earnings.
Interest earnings are separated.
yes.
So in the past, Candy, we asked you to put like a little footnote for miscellaneous on,
Okay,
remember for the damage from the,
okay, yeah, we can add a footnote on that.
Yeah, I figured it out, but I just couldn't figure out why that was so large.
I can't, I think we've asked and I can't remember.
Yeah, that's probably it.
It was also like the revenue on the, what I want to say, on the fire hall roof, so that came in from the insurance and stuff.
Thank you.
Sure.
I don't know if the rest of you guys noticed it or not, but Candy and I were talking about this cash summary a couple months ago. One of the things I like to do is December 31st is 50% of the fiscal year. So I like to know that ratio and then look at the percent of budget collected column or expended column and compare that. Oh, are we 50% or 60, whatever. So she's been adding that 50% up there in the header so we know what percentage of the year we're through. And then one of my observations here was you've got a little bit over on your total revenue, 51.4%, and you're a little bit under on expended at 48.1%. Both those things together are good, but when you add in that your general fund transfer is at zero, becomes excellent. So just something I was observing as I reading through it.
50% of the way there, and
We haven't had to draw.
we're home free so far.
We haven't had to draw anything. Yeah. On your overtime, the headers and your columns are dated. You want to correct those before you put it in the
Oh, I see.
public record.
Okay.
I'm sorry to see you're back down on your electrical department. Your staff.
Journeyman.
Our journeyman.
We're sorry too.
I don't know if any of you met him, but he's here tonight. He came and made us full staff, and then had a change of heart.
Yeah.
Wasn't the wind, was it?
No, sir.
You're going back to Arizona.
Go back to Arizona. Me and my wife and daughter be close to friends and family.
Where it's like 114 degrees in the summer.
Yeah, I did it for 14 and a half years with one utility, and the heat's just what it is, heat.
Well, shoot, I'm sorry to see you
You've
go.
enjoyed being here, but we can go home.
Do you want me to make any comments about vouchers? Give my rant.
Is this where I was gonna ask you to expand under
There.
this area?
Yep.
Just because I think he's gonna, I don't know what he's gonna say. Have you, maybe at that point, but whatever, I mean, now is as good as any.
What's that?
You want me to explain
Oh,
the thing now or wait?
No.
Your report?
No, go ahead and do it now, I think.
This is where you did it before, so.
It is?
Yep.
It is. So, some of you who were here may have remembered we had a nice conversation about vouchers and buying locally. And it was pretty animated. I apologize for that. And but I did some more research, and I had offered to meet with the department heads relative to some of the comments that I had made. And we actually were able to do that tonight before the workshop. And I did most of the talking, but they had some good questions. And there's one important one at the very end. But what I told them, or what I explained to them, is that in my mind, there's three big reasons for shopping with locally owned businesses. The first one is just pure science. Economics is a pure science, and there's just a ton of studies out there that show you where money spent with locally owned businesses go versus non-locally owned businesses. The difference is stark. For every $100 that you spend with a locally owned business, $73 remains in the local economy, whereas spending that same $100 with a non-locally owned business, only $43 remains in the local economy. And local business owners spend 250% more on community causes like schools, booster clubs, charities, etc. One of the professors at the University of Central Oklahoma says that when profits stay local, it increases the community's wealth, tax revenue, and standard of living. So there's just sheer metrics that says there's good reason to buy local. The second big reason is subjective, which includes keeping your cash local, being able to work with the decision maker at the business, somebody who can, change the pricing if he or she needs to. Personal service. I had a little hypothetical question for the group. If Walmart opened in Wheatland today, would you consider them a local store? Or would they just be the big box coming in to push out the mom and pop, the little guys? And then, do you believe in the term Buy American? And if you believe in Buy American, then why wouldn't that same logic apply to Buy Wheatland? And then the third big reason to me was statutory. And I know Mr. Weaver and I kind of butted heads on this, and I did some research on this, and I think I'm right. That's okay. It's okay.
I'll talk to you.
That's perfect. Here's the statutes talk about a preference for 5% preference for materials, for Wyoming materials in all public purchases, not contracts, but purchases. And then it talks about the preference needs to be applied to a resident of the state. And what is a resident? Of course, it's a natural person, or it's a business entity. A business entity whose equity owner has been a resident of the state for more than a year, organized under the laws of the state of Wyoming, that maintains its principal office in Wyoming for greater than 1 year, and whose CEO has been a resident of Wyoming for over a year. Principal office means the headquarters or administrative center where all the business activities are coordinated. And CEO is, of course, the president of the corporation. There's different types of business entities, C Corps, S Corps. A limited liability partnership would be a partner, or an LLC might be the managing member. So we had a good conversation, and I had made some statements about, we had done some comparison, it's Druby, Ace, Baumgar, other entities here in town. Are they local or are they not local? Talk about his ownership and his business here at the workshop. And like Whoopi Goldberg, I can stand to be corrected. I see Druby's and Ace very similar. Local ownership. I don't see them the same as Baumgar because they're not statutorily the same. But the big question that I was asked at the end, I thought, was, Bill, are we supposed to go keep a record of where we're purchasing and go shop at Druby's and all the time? And I said, no, that was never my point, never my purpose. I simply wanted, as you're thinking about this, understand that where you spend money, where you spend the town's money can matter. I've had many comments and many thanks from constituents and other business owners in town for raising this observation. I did tell them, and Councilman Race affirmed, I'm just one guy, not my role. So I appreciate what the staff has been doing. In fact, if you go back and you review the August 9th YouTube video, you'll see that I made comments about how good the staff had done with the last fiscal year. And basically, my recollection is they added $3 million in cash to the general fund as a result of good purchasing practices. So, and I thanked them then, and I thank them now. So there you go. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you say you want more money spent legally. What's the city council doing to encourage businesses to come into the area? The Burger King has been empty now for a couple of years, empty lots all up and down 16th Street. What are you doing to bring in someone?
So we rely heavily on Platte County Economic Development.
Okay.
We are members, and Mr. Merlin will know I'm a critical voice. We've been helping each other. I've been critical, but it's.
So you're critical and they're critical, so nothing's getting done. Is that what I'm hearing? Is there nothing?
I don't think that's.
Businesses, you've lost Lock Trucking now. So again, what are you doing to take and as a board, as city council, to encourage business? Apparently, the economic development's not working.
Well, I don't know if I have an answer for you. I mean, it's incremental.
Am I wrong? Has anything new come into town?
Not.
Substantial?
You can ask your economic developer right next to you.
But a substantial business that will employ people?
I can't say.
Given tax breaks, if you put in any utilities to pieces of property that would be encouraged to have people build on?
We have been upgrading utilities in our electrical.
Good.
There's several areas in town that were severely dilapidated electrical system wise, so those things are being updated.
Good.
And in fact, the 6 penny tax that we approved as a constituency is going towards infrastructure to support water and electrical to, improve those services. We don't have a lot of tax that we can rebate, right? We don't have anything that we can rebate tax-wise.
No, but again, things you can do to encourage businesses to come here.
So one of the things, maybe an answer to that is I've suggested, or I'm going to suggest, maybe at one of our later meetings, we have a procurement policy, and I feel like we need to add to it or supplement it by include the state requires statutorily that we give a preference, 5% preference for materials made or supplied in Wyoming. I don't know why the town couldn't have an additional preference for supplies or materials made in Wheatland or supplied in Wheatland. Just as a,
But is that being good stewards of the tax dollars if they can get it less expensive, either online or out of Cheyenne? Is that being a good steward with our dollars?
That's a good question. It's a double-edged sword. And in fact, on the one hand, yeah, we encourage the employees to save money and buy the cheapest one. On the other hand, the data like these things tell you if you spend $100 here in town, it's going to turn over $73 are going to stay in town.
Oh, I've got no problem with that. I agree with that. But you need to have more places in town that they can spend their dollars. It's a losing proposition if you don't grow your infrastructure and grow your businesses. You're growing or dying.
Absolutely, I agree totally with that. In fact, I've been spearheading later in this meeting. You'll see we have an economic health and development trends report that I started trying to answer that exact question. Are we shrinking? Are we growing, or are we dying? In my opinion, there's no stasis, right? So we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what are those things? How do we measure the current health of the community, and what are the trends? It's not easy because the state has a whole cadre of people that do nothing all day but evaluate economic data. And we don't have that. We need to look for simple metrics, and hopefully, as we keep looking at those things and keep them in front of our face, we start to see, oh, you know what? Like Merlin he had 3 clients and they all turned us down because of this, the old 80-20 rule or something. Oh, let's go fix that 20% thing. Start getting some fish on the hook.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I agree with the incentives. I think that after looking at a business that I'm working with here in town, the incentives, we don't have the incentives that most anybody else has. Torrington wasn't laid out the red carpet. I live here, so I stayed here without the incentives. And I've talked to you guys all about this. We've had meetings about this. But for him to know they have put $10,000 into the electrical at the movie theater for us to get this open. So they are doing the things that they need to do as we come to them with different things. So I think, yeah, we do need to look at incentives, but you can't do it all at one time.
It's hard to know what any one potential client might want from your community beyond just land or a building. You kind of have to take them on a case-by-case basis, right,
It's all
Marlon?
negotiable. You can negotiate with them. It's all negotiable.
Well, and the economic development has been amazing for us. We've spent lots and lots of time with Merlin and walking us through different things. It's been really helpful for us.
also, I'm grateful for the group coming tonight and spending a little extra time after hours and letting me share my thoughts and what it's coming from. So,
And I guess there's still a little bit of discussion or different views on local.
Don't get too involved here because we got to do our
30 minutes.
public hearing. I don't know how long your statement's going to be, but maybe hold that thought for a second.
I
'cause-
have to hold it. Yeah, I gotta hold it.
Because Doug gave me the signal
Yeah, I forgot about
40
that.
seconds ago that we had a minute,
Real
so.
close. It's 7:29. It's been sitting. It's 7:30.
Okay. At this point, I would just call a public hearing on renewal of liquor licenses. We have in front of us a list of applicants for renewal of Town of Wheatland liquor licenses. I think to make it easy, we'll group them like we have in the past. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to renew the liquor license for the restaurant liquor license group, which would include Los Dominguez and Tasty Treats.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Anybody in favor or anybody wish to speak?
You have to ask the public
Yeah.
if they have any.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor or against the liquor license renewal for the restaurant liquor license holders? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. And then we'll do the next group, which will be the club liquor licenses, to include the Wheatland Moose Lodge and the Wheatland Golf Club. Would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the club liquor licenses. I'll go ahead, let's get a second and
Second.
I
I was about to say the same.
does Mr. Race need to,
Can't vote.
can't vote for this one, right? Okay. Okay, abstain, okay.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak in favor of or against the club liquor license renewal?
Who seconded
Tony
it?
second. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will be approved. Moving on to the retail liquor license group, which will include the Landmark Bar, Vimbo's Restaurant and Bar, Commodore Bar, I-25 Pit Stop, Safeway, Big A, Big Dogs Lanes, and Guadalajaras. Would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Is there anybody would like to speak in favor or against the renewal of the retail liquor licenses? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll move on to the bar and grill liquor license group to include Windy Peaks Brewery and Steakhouse and the Hilltop Bar and Grill. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor or against the bar and grill liquor license group? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And lastly, we will do the microbrewery grouping, which includes Windy Peaks Brewery and Steakhouse. And just as a side note, I would like the motion to include the verbiage, the approval be subject to the Wyoming Liquor Division's approval of monthly production reports. If you need that for your,
I will make a motion, we accept or we approve the microbrewery liquor license for Windy Peaks, subject to the Wyoming Liquor Division's approval of monthly production reports.
perfect. Is there anybody?
Tony seconded.
Second. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor or against the microbrewery renewal? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And at this point, we can adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the regular council meeting. You remember your thought?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, I think my view on the locally owned businesses, I look at it as you own property, thus you're paying taxes, paying utilities, employing people. I look at those structures as locally owned. Where your profits go, I'm just glad you have them. And I guess I'm not nothing I can do about state statute, but Bill had read, I think maybe that should be looked at, but I think what we're doing, the department heads, I think they're doing the best they can for what I consider as all our locally owned businesses. And like I said, I'm glad they're all, I think you made the analogy of Baumgars supporting the Sioux City, Iowa Bulldogs versus the Wheatland Bulldogs. But again, I see them as a local business. I'm glad the building isn't empty, or if Drewby's had bought it, then we would have a huge amount of square footage empty downtown. So I think it was awesome that Drewby's entrepreneured out and developed Drewby Home. So I think it's been a win-win for everybody. But I look at them all as our local businesses. We zero in on if the town's only going to use homegrown, locally owned sole proprietors. And you know, I don't know if that doesn't scare off anybody that wants to come here and open up a business. And again, I'm glad y'all have profits. I mean, I'm not questioning the reports throughout the nation from different colleges about where money goes, but I mean, you could, whether Baumgars takes their profits for Sioux City, Iowa Bulldogs, you could look at, and it's great for Drewby's Hardware Inc., that they used their profits. They have a Hardware Hank and an Napa Auto Start parts in Newcastle. So as part of the profits, I mean, should we be questioning their profits? Now they're supporting the Newcastle Dogies and not the Wheatland Bulldogs. I don't care what they do with their profits. I think it's great. I'm just glad they're here. And my other concern is with a little bit of theory. 16th Street is our main commerce thoroughfare, and we're trying to get grant money. And, you know, we're acknowledging we got hotels out there. We got Baumgars, large anchor retailers, lots of businesses. And there's some homegrown sole proprietors up and down 16th Street and in our corporate shops. But if we sit there and say, oh, we only are going to look at just the homegrown living here businesses, why are we, if I'm the Wyoming Business Council, I'm going to question. You're asking for this grant, but you guys, you're tunneling down, you're having tunnel vision of what you're considering as a local business. And so I think that's just my thoughts on it. And then I know you, Billy made a comment that Drewby's had gone drastically down from when Mr. Ashner sat on the council. I don't know. I didn't know the numbers. I asked Candy if she could look at that. Granted, Baumgars has only been around for what, a year and a half. And maybe you have that chart showing. And I think everybody went down. And the one you forget about is Blowdorn. Blowdorn, you'll see on the chart, has done been one of our bigger vendors. And if you look at the chart, it stays probably ahead of everybody. And which is, again, it's all fine. I'm glad we got these lines on here. We have all these businesses. Again, Blowdorn headquarters might be somewhere else. I'm not exactly sure where, but again, I consider them one of our local lumberyards. And that's just my view on it. So,
I was pretty adamant last month. I share the same sentiment that Councilman Madsen does. I believe every business in this town is a local business. They hire locally, they pay taxes. This is Wheatland. We've been doing this. I've been living here for 55, 60 years, you know? I mean, we're all local here, right? Everybody should share in the expense. Everybody should share in the profit, I should say. And I think the supervisors in the town have been doing a great job. Councilman Brits acknowledged that. I think those guys are doing a great job. I don't want to micromanage anybody. I think they know what they're doing. I think we should look into this this deal that he brought up with the state and see if we're in accordance with it or not. And if we're not, and we should be, then we'll make moves to do it that way. But that's my opinion.
Now, I want to bring up one thing that came out. Well, the first thing, I think when our workshop started, there was some animosity there, obviously. First question was, you going to tell us we need to go to Drewey's to get our stuff? Bill was catching heck over that. And then he explained to him, no, I'm not. He was trying to explain the metrics on all this. And I told the employees, and I'm doing it again just because of the people that weren't here, employees, and on the camera, that Bill Brits could not predict anybody where they're going to go buy their stuff. He's one of 4 councilmen. That if that was going to be the way to operate, then we would have to vote on that. So I just wanted to let the employees know that would not happen. I'm totally against micromanagement, and to me that would be a definition of micromanagement. That's where we hired these supervisors.
I also told him I wasn't going to beat a dead horse anymore. I guess we have a motion on the table to approve accept the consent agenda.
Is there any further discussion?
prior to voting, I'll vote, but my vote, I want it to be noted, I'm abstaining. There's a voucher in there for Premier Title Company, which is my company. TO Engineering asked me to do an owner's and encumbrance report on the 19 lots at the airport as part of their process of work towards acquisition. So I had done that work for TNO, so my vote will be good for everything about that. I'm going to abstain from any approval for Premier Title Company.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Moving on to petitions, memorials, proclamations, and public comments. We have an agenda item number 1, Mr. Gary Bjorklund from Ace Hardware. Would you like to speak? If you go to the podium, we get you on the camera.
Well, I'd like to address some of the comments that were made at the last town council meeting. I would agree wholeheartedly with the councilman's statement that we need to encourage people to shop locally. If the residents of Platte County would shop in Platte County, all of the communities of Platte County would benefit. The residents would benefit because the merchants would have the ability to carry a deeper selection of merchandise. The communities would benefit because they would have a greater tax revenue. So when people go out of town to shop, so do the tax dollars. Unfortunately, that isn't how it seems to work. Many residents just assume that but what they're looking for can't be purchased in Wheatland. Now, let's all face it, a town of 3,000 people can't compete with a town of 300,000 people. So anyway, they don't bother to go look. They just assume that I can't get it, so I'll go to Cheyenne or I'll go to Fort Columbia or whatever, and while I'm down there, I'll go out to dinner and I'll do this, and I'll pick up a hammer, or I'll pick up whatever, a pair of jeans while I'm down there. So all of those dollars go out of the community. So we need to concentrate as a group and as a city council on getting people to shop locally. Pointed out, it doesn't matter whether they're a corporation like Baumgars and much of the money goes, the tax dollars stay local, and that benefits everyone. I try to help the consumer, and they in turn help me by coming back to my business. I personally try to shop locally. I shop at the country store on a regular basis. I even shopped at Drewby's because they had something that I didn't, and that beat going out of town. So I purchased my last 2 vehicles locally in Wheatland. Mr. Fritz, where did you purchase your last vehicle?
That's one of the Ruarts, I think.
Okay, good for you. That being said, I take exception to the councilman's inference that only local merchants are the ones that we should be doing business with. And he inferred that local guys were the ones who had been born in Platte County. That's a local guy. Somebody that comes in and starts a business from somewhere else, they're not local. So maybe we shouldn't be supporting them. That may have been an incorrect interpretation, but that was the interpretation that I got, and I know that was the interpretation that a number of other people got in watching the video. So a little background, I was raised in Thermopolis. I graduated from the University of Wyoming. My lifelong dream was to be a pilot. So after graduating from university, I went into the military. And I was a pilot for almost 10 years. And then I spent 30 years with United Airlines. Well, during that time, 1989, my dad told me I should plan my separation from United before someone else planned it for me. Amazingly enough, I listened to him. So we bought a hardware store in Douglas. And we started with 7,000 square feet, and we expanded it to 14,000 square feet. And then we bought the building next door, and we expanded it to 28,000 square feet. And during that time, there were a lot of residents from Platte County and Wheatland that were coming up there to shop. They're going, man, when are you going to put a store in Wheatland? When are you going to put a store in Wheatland? Well, in 2002, my wife and I purchased the store that we're at right now. Now, that store was owned by 3 different hardware outfits. It was Wheelers, and then it was Country General, and then it was Quality Farm Stores, which is where I ended up buying it. But that building had been vacant for 2 to 3 years. So there was an opportunity for somebody to have picked up that building. Much like I wasn't a big fan of Baumgars coming in, I don't compete directly with them in a lot of merchandise, but some. But I wasn't a big fan of that. But as Merlin pointed out, we're far better off to have a business in a building rather than having it sit vacant. And that's a true statement. Oh, by the way, I think Drewby's opened 6 months before I did at my current location. So my wife graduated from high school in Newcastle, and we consider ourselves to be Wyoming people. The plan was when I retired, we would move back to Wyoming, and here we are. The councilman's statement that all of the money that you spend at ACE goes out of town. And his example was that he has an account here, at ACE. And when he pays that account, it goes to John Deere Financial in Texas. So I'm going to guess that he misspoke, as politicians often do. I'm sure that he knows that when he pays a credit card, he uses his credit card at any merchant. That credit card payment doesn't go to anyone in Wheatland. It doesn't go to anyone in Wyoming. It goes to a credit card processor. And after the processing is done, that money is returned to the merchant. And so I had house accounts in Douglas. And when we moved down here, I had between $100,000 and $170,000 on the books that were owed to me on house accounts. And I came down here and decided that I didn't want to put an extra $100,000 into the business so that we could do that here. And farm plan was available then, which many of the farmers, ranchers, whatever, are familiar with. And so we opened up a farm plan account, and it's much like a credit card. And that was purchased by John Deere Financial. So, as for not contributing to the community, which is another statement that he made, that guys like me don't contribute to the community. Well, I do contribute to various causes, but I pick the causes, and I don't announce how much I contributed or what I did, because I don't do that with fanfare. I do it because I want to do it. And I don't break my arm patting myself on the back for the good job I did. By the way, we're planning a 20th anniversary celebration on June 25th. And I'd like to invite all of you to come out and say hello and attend. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
I guess I'd just say that I went out to Gary's store, might be towards the end of summer, he don't remember, but I was needing something for my barbecue grill, and he's got probably the biggest, nicest selection of barbecuers and barbecue supplies in southeast Wyoming. And I also, and I don't know the exact number, but I know you did a major function for the fire department. It's greatly appreciated for the amount of money that you raised.
We paid for all of the food, and we asked the firemen if they wanted to come out and cook. And they did.
Yep.
I just go to your store to stand in that grill room and look around. It's so nice.
Well, the outfit that built it asked me how I liked it. I said, well, it has a problem. And I said, well, what's that? I said, it's not big enough.
If I may add something to that with the donations that Gary and Dorothy did with the fire department. They bought Wyoming beef. They bought all the accoutrements that go with it. They donated all of that. My time, they paid me to stand out there and help those people get their burgers together. They donated my time on top of everything else. They kept the money locally. They didn't go to Colorado to get beef. They did it locally. And everything that was left over, they donated to the high school lunch program. So there's your donations right there. That's local.
You are expecting a response from me?
No.
Well, thank you, Gary, for coming. I appreciate it. And call me anytime. And I say this almost every council meeting. My number's in the newspaper every week. If there's something not right, just call me. I can be corrected. As you know, I don't know, my business here in town does a lot of business with these hardware. A lot. Good service.
And I worked hard to get that business. But
We
we
shop.
appreciate it.
We shop. I mean, we shop. We compare you to others locally and out of state, in state, whatever. That's my business. Up here, I'm spending the people's money. We still have a question on the table, don't we? To approve the.
No, we're
Did we do
in
that?
petitions, memorials,
Oh,
proclamations.
petitions.
Yeah.
Public comments.
Never mind.
This is your section, Merlin. Have you got anything to bring to us?
Sure. Anybody ever know how to be at a total loss for words? First of all, I'd like to address two of the major problems that we have in Wheatland attracting businesses. Number one is workforce, and talented workforce, knowledgeable workforce, and number two is housing. We have a really tight housing market here in Wheatland. It's at times you can't hardly find a rental, and even let alone a place to buy. When you look at the inventory that the real estate agents have, it isn't much. There isn't a lot to pick from, and it's either very expensive or needs a lot of repairs. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of that middle 180 to 240, $250,000 housing that people can afford in Wheatland. Those are the two major problems for economic development. I'd like to talk a little bit about why we lost a business to Goshen County. 8 months or so ago, we had a company came here that was looking for warehouse space. The realtors and I showed them everything that was available at that time in Wheatland, and we never heard from them again. And so when we tried to follow up, our emails were not answered. And come to find out, Goshen County had given them the land to build their own warehouse on. We can't do that. We don't have the land to give them. We don't have the resources to give them. And that difference is Goshen County has a 1/4-cent sales tax that's dedicated to economic development. And that's why they can afford to give incentives. We don't have anything like that here, so we can't give those incentives. As far as infrastructure, the town worked on the North Park business lots. We have shovel-ready lots out there because of the town of Wheatland that have sewer and water and electrical right there, stubbed off. The lots are level, they're ready to be sold, and we get some interest in them, but then they ask us, well, can you give us the lot? And no, we really can't afford to give you the lot. We can give you a discount based on the number of jobs you're going to provide, as in a rebate, but can we give them the land up front? No, we can't, because we can't. If we give it away, then we have nothing left. We do have some empty buildings on Main Street and 16th Street. Two of those are in the process right now of being filled. The slaughter plant that's been vacant for years has been, they're working on purchasing it. They have a conditional special use permit. They've got some hoops to jump through, but they're very active in getting that reopened. And it will be a small processing. They're talking maybe 1 or 2 beef a day. Nothing huge. Some custom work and some work of their own. The empty, it has a rock shop sign in front of it. Those people live in that residence right there, and they've talked to me and professed an interest in opening a bait, maybe tackle store in the future. We are right on the road, Gray Rocks. And they think that that might be something that they could make work.
Absolutely.
So there's 2 buildings that are being worked on. Our 2 major holes right now, block trucking and of course Burger King. And I don't know what we can do about those. They're I don't know about block trucking, but the Burger King building to me is priced way too high. And I've contacted owners of restaurant chains, Casper. I talked to Wendy's. I talked to a Dairy Queen, people that own those, and told them we've got this store, and they look into it and they get back to me and they say we can't afford that. So I don't know what the answer there is. I think in that instance, vacant lot would be more attractive than a boarded up building. I think lock trucking will probably sell fairly readily. There's some interest. Just this week I had, I gotta be careful what I say. There's a small manufacturing company located in LA that has expressed a sent out a few. I responded to that. We'll see. Have a facility. They need 40 people. I'm not sure where they can find 40 people. And more than 40 people can find housing, but that's kind of the chicken and the egg kind of thing. So that's really all my report. I have no smashing good news about anything, but we keep moving forward. We keep trying. I go to the legislature Wednesday, barring a huge snowstorm. WEDA, the Lummi Economic Development Association, has a meet and greet with the legislators, and we can talk to them about our local problems. I'm sure I'll be visiting with Governor Gordon for a few minutes. And 16th Street will be first and foremost on my list to get funding for that, to finish that project up finally.
I spoke to Scott Halverson this morning
Okay,
on the status of Cdbg grant.
what's going on there?
They have lost, well, he corroborated what I found out from the chairman and the vice chairman before their last meeting, that they had lost some employees, some staff. And they are concerned about processing the grant applications precisely, with every dot on every I and every T crossed, and because they don't want to get crosswise with the federal government.
Sure.
And HUD. And so Scott told me this morning they still have not filled their empty slots, and he said, well, when do you think we're going to see our grant applications come to the board? Maybe March, maybe? And he says, well, he said, yours has got COVID related. Yeah, I said, yes, it does. He said, well, we're going to try and prioritize over all the rest of them. He said, I can't promise anything, but maybe we can get it at the March meeting. And, I haven't talked to you, but we need to figure out what our next grant. I thought we had one in February we needed to apply for.
You and I had briefly talked about that before the last, our conversation before the last council meeting, and we were waiting on this before we did.
I know. That's what I told Scott. This is kind of a trigger for us. So
We're also waiting to see what the legislature, how they're going to spend the money from
that's good.
the latest round of federal.
Yeah.
One thing that's in our benefit or in our favor is that ours is shovel ready. We're already engineering it. It's ready to go. We can have that done and the money spent by the deadline easily. So it fits right into our timeline, and that to me is really hopeful. Any questions?
Thanks, Merlin.
Thank you, Merlin.
I have a question. Have you, housing, have you talked to a place like Gillette where there's a boom and bust cycle up there, but they are able to provide housing for people that come in on fairly short notice? Is there any conversation going on with other boom and bust type situations? They're big projects. They get state funding for impact. And then that way they can move in housing fast. Wheatland did it when they built the power plant back in the 70s and 80s. We have, help me with the name of the program. It was we got a lot of federal money and state money to build Black Mountain and put in housing.
Before my time.
Yeah, I'm old, my memory.
Didn't take your Prevagen today, did you?
Is there any other public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business item number 1, which is ordinance 834, amending the WNC Wheatland Municipal Code, I'm guessing. Title 18, and it is on third and final reading.
Yes, so the previous council meeting was approved to accept the changes recommended by the planning office and Councilman Britt. Changes have been included. Are there any additional questions?
You want a motion before?
Yeah, entertain a motion for the purpose of discussion.
Make a motion that we
read the amendment 834 as amended,
Third and final reading.
third and final reading.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on ordinance 834?
We've got an airport district, an airport overlay district, and an airport enterprise district. And the airport manager apparently manages all that, and it seems like he's vested with quite a lot of power. Does he answer directly to you gentlemen here? Or is he under some kind of other umbrella? That's you? That's correct. Okay. All right. It has some language in here that kind of jumped out, like, to the extent legally possible by the exercise of police power without compensation. Little phrases like that just kind of pop a little bit. And I was curious as to all of that. And is there a map with all these districts, I presume, somewhere?
No, this is just a generic code for